It's the Albino Rhino beeryond, good or bad or old or new. Sip away the night with all our friends. Well, you folks that are ready land, it's drink beer, eat beer again. So grab a brew and join us when you can. They will rate our drink based on what we think and pass opinions on you. Well, it's not just booze, some hot sauce too. Basically, there's nothing we won't do. So join us every single week, my friend. Just sit right back, you'll fit right in. Welcome all your posts, all your thoughts. Hey, micro, macro, we don't care. We do it all those summer days. All us crazy ones, but we're not. Yeah, call us crazy normals, but we're not.
So this is the Sanctuary Center for the Arts. Bought this building about 2.5 years ago with the idea of doing a Center for the Arts that we can do different things in. Like, for example, it's an all-time gallery, and we have concert shows here, so it's a live music venue. Really, it's just like it's a pretty kind of funky and hip community center that we can engage younger people and people of all ages here. So that was the premise for the Sanctuary Center for the Arts, and then I always had in mind about a 5-year plan to do a small-scale brewery. Turns out I was in a meeting, and Rod here shows up and says he wants to do a brewery in town. I said, Rod, we got to talk. So we sat down, we talked about things, and next thing you know, we formed a partnership and working on the steps to initiate Brimstone Brewing Company into the Sanctuary Center for the Arts.
If I might add, Jason and I, we dress the same a lot.
Yeah, at all times.
Just want that to be known. And we finish each other's sentences a lot as well. So, so I mean, I ended up, I was at a BIA meeting here in town. I just moved to the province, just moved to Ridgeway. Knew a little bit about Ridgeway before we got here. Knew that it had, some of that Victorian character a little bit, and we knew we had to move to southern Ontario. So I was thinking a little bit with my business hat on as well, and proximity to Buffalo, a lot of pros, a lot of positives here. Ended up going to a BIA meeting just in the first few months of moving to town, pitching the idea of opening a nanobrewery in the province.
Now, what's a BIA?
Sorry, business improvement area. What's a BIA?
All the businesses in downtown core all kind of work together to kind of, just make the village, a funner place to be.
So it's kind of like a Chamber of Commerce or something.
Similar situation, yeah.
Sort of that, yeah. So, so Jason was the chair of the Business Improvement Area Association. Sure, and. So he said, I've got the space, and I said, well, I've got the equipment, and done a little bit of training. So it was kind of one of those your chocolate fell in my peanut butter kind of situations. And exactly. He said, come on over and take a look. So we came over and took a look, and the sanctuary, he had the sanctuary running already. Great music venue. This place sounds fantastic, actually, and the Fort Erie Arts Council was already here, and we looked at the basement space. The few hundred square feet that I thought would suffice to do it, and that's where we got going.
Yeah.
How receptive has the community been for you guys coming here and setting up?
Isn't very excited. Everyone asks me continuously. Even the beer store, they're like, when are you open? When are you open? So
actually, the beer store has been doing that.
And we're like, soon, it's coming.
The few times that I actually even go into the beer store, but yeah. So they definitely are. I found they're supportive. We've been legislation-wise and regulation-wise and application-wise, we've been dealing a lot with the province. We've been dealing a lot with the feds. We've had both come in here. Actually, we had the AGCO inspector here just yesterday, and a lot of support. Now, a lot of these applications hinge on endorsement from the municipality. So we've only recently started to approach the municipality. The other night, on Monday night, we had our first foray in front of town council. That's because it's not like we left it late, but we've been working through some other things with zoning. This building has been zoned as 2 different zones for quite some time, it having been an old church.
Yeah, so it's an institutional zoning, so we got to turn that institutional into commercial. So actually right where we're standing, that side's institutional, that side's commercial. So it's pretty wild, yeah. So we got to turn this sanctuary here into commercial enterprise. So
we're trying to align the whole thing right now.
And in order to do that, we had to, sink a bunch of money into asphalt and a water testing manhole. Continuously spending money on upgrading the facility to accommodate a commercial enterprise. So that's what we've been working on. As money rolls in, we spend a little bit of money on it. And
you're saying basically there's been a lot of extra cost attributed to the building site you chose.
In general, I think, well, one of the biggest issues is that town of Fort Erie didn't even have a brewery in their bylaw. So property.
Definition wasn't even there.
Wasn't there. So anyone that wants to do a brewery in Fort Erie has to rezone the property because the brewery's not in their bylaw.
Yeah.
Most towns I've been to in this country, most towns I've lived in, have at some point historically had a brewery.
Yeah.
So the definition is in the town, maybe a brewery opened up in 1910, but Fort Erie doesn't seem to have ever had one.
Yeah.
Not according to the definitions in the bylaw.
It's like an oversight when they originally wrote it. So that's where we're dealing with that. So we're working through it. We're getting there.
Yeah, and some of the extra costs too come from the fact that really nanobrewery doesn't exist in terms of a definition in Canada.
Definitely.
In the States, to some degree, yes it is. In fact, I think New Hampshire recently just recognized it and made some inroads there. But in Canada, the definition of nanobrewery is really just a convention. Microbrewery is understood. Volume-wise, it's understood what a microbrewery is. But nanobrewery, not so. So that being said, costs of opening a nanobrewery are identical to costs of opening a macro brewery, if you will. I mean, in terms, not only license-wise, but requirement-wise, because they don't know about nanobreweries, so there's no requirements downsized, scale appropriate to a nanobrewery. So yes, as Jason mentioned, we had to put in a manhole. Well, had Anheuser-Busch moved to town, they would have had to put in a manhole as well. So we had to put in a manhole.
Yeah, we'd dig up the parking lot down 12 feet, put in a big concrete cylinder so that the town can test our water.
We roll with the punches. We keep a smile on our faces as we go.
Yeah, just gotta get through.
And I think these are some of the reasons. I mean, often I've heard, hey, this is a great idea. Why doesn't every home brewer start a nanobrewery? Well, these are some of the reasons why every home brewer doesn't start a nanobrewery. Yeah. They might get excited about it for a little bit and then realize all the roadblocks. I mean, I've often said, I think this is other than the aviation industry, this is the most highly regulated, and then medicine is probably third. Everyone gets involved, and around here we even end up dealing with the regional government a little bit as well. So essentially 4 levels of government.
Exactly.
But you persevere and carry on, make it happen.
As
That's the big wall to get over. I mean, if I didn't run into Jason and he said, hey, I have this space. So if Jason wasn't tied into this, right, if he didn't benefit from this at the end of the day, if he didn't have a vested interest in this, there's no way in hell I can go in and even for 1 year say, I'd like to have this space rent-free for a year.
Yeah.
So that I can set up my equipment, so that I can apply for licensing, so that I can, get all of this stuff done. It's just not going to happen.
Well, that's it. You have to have the space before you're allowed to brew. So you've got a year, really, renting that place.
That's it.
So it's difficult. Then you have to build a clientele. Still paying all that rent. It's tough. So Plan B, that's probably where they ran into some issues, right?
Like I said, they make great stuff. And I mean, who knows exactly the struggles that they experience, but I'll say from my perspective, I come to this with a passion for beer. I come to this with a beer or several beers that I like to drink, so it's very selfish, right? So I want to brew the beers I want to drink. At the same time, I want everybody around me to love the beers that I want to also drink. That's not necessarily going to happen. So there's some sobering realities that you have to realize at the same time. And we're brewing in twice the size of a homebrew batch. So some economics have to factor in. We have to sell as much as we can at a retail level as possible, and that's where the sanctuary plugs in. So we have those sorts of things going for us that other nanos who are, you know, perhaps selling more at the wholesale level don't have the benefit of, right?
That's our theory.
That's my theory. You know, been working on business plans for a while and kind of massaging this this process as best as we can, so that when we open up, we stay open. And yes, I mean, we're gonna have beers to kind of. My thoughts are, from a craft beer perspective is, you know, you gotta hook those who really are resistant to try. I've always been in awe of someone who won't try a beer. It's like, really? If you don't like that beer, what's it mean? You've just spent $6. So what? You know, order another one. But try it. And so I think that, you know, yes, we're gonna have a pale ale. Of course we are. It's gonna be maltier. It's gonna be more flavorful. It's gonna be more intriguing. A lot of people are gonna drink that and think it's over the top. Okay, but then the next day they might think, hey, you know what? I might want to try that one more time. So I think we have to have a beer which from a craft perspective, it gets its hooks into people, right?
Yeah.
Like it's entry level, if you will.
You
know,
know,
sessionable.
gain
Okay.
trust, and it's an education in a community like this. It's an education, right? Craft beer. So we have to bring them in on it and educate them. That's part of the whole experience of coming to the brewery and growing with us, right? And,
well, you're seeing that entry level beer thing going on with a lot of the craft breweries that are opening right now, like Kensington and their
That's right.
Augusta Ale, sorry, and Double Troubles, Hops and Robbers IPA. That was a very good entry level IPA. Like, it had the right flavors, but it wasn't going to kick you in the face.
It even says sessionable right on the can.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, Jason and I have had these debates because obviously we approach this somewhat from the same level, but from different perspective as well. So I come in here saying, hey, all I ever want to brew is a double IPA because that's all I ever want to drink. Okay, well, I can do that. Will we sell any? No, probably not. We might sell a few to you guys who come in here, and, you know, people like you who come in here and say, hey, I've driven 8 hours to have that double IPA. Beautiful. Is that going to pay the bills? Not a chance. So, you know, I have to back up and say, all right, fine. We'll brew this, but it still has to be fantastic, right? It's just not the style that I'm all about. You know, if I could, you know, Greg Cook from Stone, if I could just brew everything, you know, just like he did, and have that kind of success that he's had, I'd be loving it. You know, just. If in doubt, add more hops. But that's just me. Now I realize there's a place for other styles, and we have the luxury of being able to brew in, you know, 58-liter batches or 48-liter batches.
You also have the downfall of the region you're in as well. Like, this region just seems to be a holdout against craft beer.
yeah, at this point it is. You got people constantly asking, "Oh, you're going to brew a light beer?" You know, it's like,
Yeah.
There is a niche for light beers with flavor, though. I mean, Stonehammer's done it. Anti-gravity ale's done it.
Yeah.
It's just the Coors Light drinkers are going to drink it and throw it back at you.
That's right. Yeah.
But I mean, like, you look at the bars in St. Catharines, Niagara, Welland, all that. It's old Vienna, stock ale.
True enough. Yeah, you're right.
Export, just the weird bastions that aren't drank anymore. This is one of the only places I can go into a beer store and buy old Vienna or Molson Stock or Labatt 50 all the time.
Yeah.
They'll have an inch of dust on the case, but
Remember 10 penny? I'm an East Coaster, so it is nasty.
Oh, yeah.
We drank a lot.
Yeah.
when
But
I had the bar, we used to sell stock ale. Like, we would sell out of it every night.
The
Is that right?
kids,
Yeah.
all the kids from Welland would come
Yeah.
in to drink stock ale.
But literally, you open up the case and the bottles are covered in dust. And I'm like,
They were just chugging that.
yeah.
Aged to perfection. But yeah, I mean, certainly there's going to be a bit of a learning curve. I spent kind of most of my formative years on the West Coast, so that's sort of where I kind of cut my teeth on craft beer, if you will. So I do have that interest in the more flavorful and the hoppier beers. But I come to Ontario and I recognize that historically Ontario is very much an old British bastion, right? So you've got the maltier flavors, you got the bitters, you got the milds, you got the legacy of the Brits here, and that has formed not only the macro brewery and the general flavor of beers, or the taste for beers here, but even the crafts. I mean, there are some great crafts in what we're at, about 30 or so craft breweries in
78.
Oh, in Ontario?
In Ontario, 78.
Including like brew pubs and.
Well, that's including all the contract breweries.
Oh, okay.
So buildings, I think we're at like 45.
Okay. I'm just thinking of what I read on Wiki about the Craft Brewers Association. They're saying 29, 30.
Well, the Craft Brewers Association has like half of them not even part.
Oh, I see.
You have to be
Because-
part of the craft brewery association for them to recognize you, or?
For them to add you on their site.
Okay.
But you have to have your own building and stuff. You can't be a contract brewer for them to add you on.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, I visited a lot of the breweries. You know, I purposely try to do a little bit of tourism in that way and visit some of these breweries as I go, and they make great beers. But none of the beers are the beers that I'm used to. So I thought, well, hey, we're doing a nano, let's brew some beers that I'm used to, introduce it. Probably not gonna make a ton of money off of them until we get a bit of a following.
It's come along. I'm from Vancouver Island originally myself.
Okay.
I'm from Victoria.
So Swan
And I moved to Ontario 17 years
and
ago.
Spinnakers.
And it didn't exist. Craft brewery barely existed when I first moved to this area.
Okay, 7 years?
17 years.
Oh, 17 years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, you guys' output's going to be so, like, not so small, but small enough where you can experiment and do what the hell you want.
That's it.
It's a pro and a con, right? So-
I mean, if we dump a batch, well, we're realistically not going to dump a batch. We have friends who will drink just about anything.
Oh, yeah. We'll take it.
So they'll come over. It's like, yeah, this didn't work out so well. It's riddled with diacetyl. And
Every beer we review on the review, we're drinking another beer in between them, right?
yeah, not too much is going to end up down the drain. But at the same time, we're definitely endeavoring to, you know, what I think of as elevate the appreciation of some of the beers that I would like to brew. We're not trying to create a beer swilling hall. It's not about just pushing out the volume. Obviously, we're brewing on a half barrel system. We're really trying to get people to say, hey, I hate this beer, and then come back next week for the next show and say, yeah, it's not bad.
It's growing on
And then a week after that, it's like, where can I get this? You know, we want that. And I get excited when I see that. Actually, I do that with friends. I introduce them to beers, and I get the, ooh, man, that's so bitter, right? And then, or it's so yeasty, or what's that sludge on the bottom, or how do I drink this? And then I get texts and calls from people saying, oh, you should see this great new double IPA or this Imperial Stout that I just picked up. I'm like, right on, my job here is done.
For us on our review show, we've actually had, because we've had a number of people come in and host on the show.
Okay.
Chad, and it's been that evolution with guys coming in.
Yeah, we had like the Reverend. The Reverend came in. His 10 out of 10 beer when he joined us was Labatt Blue. He
Right.
can't touch. He says he only drinks the stuff now when he's out and he has to.
Yeah.
Like what's at his house is stuff that he's drank with us.
And then like we got another guy, Scott, the other
Coors
one.
Light,
Yeah,
what's
Coors
his
Light.
thing?
And so he comes in, because we literally find his friends, and we bring him on for the clean palates. What do you think of this super big tug IPA? Oh my gosh! You know, and then we wait a year later, and it's like, so now what do you think of this? This is really nice.
It's good to do that. I think that's fantastic. You know, it's like missionary work.
Yeah.
And by the way, I thought you just made me remember. I saw you. I don't know. I think it was from 2011. Slice up the Canadian Beer Awards,
Oh yes.
and I'm like, absolutely. I'm
What,
like,
where
every
50 was a
beer
cream
says-
ale?
Yeah.
We're Labatt 50 award-winning cream ale.
Yeah, and it's all sponsored by the big breweries, right? Oddly enough, it's all the big breweries.
Yeah.
2011. Well, because of sponsorship.
Well, Labatt
That's the same shit.
Blue Pilsner kept winning European lager until they took Pilsner off their bottle, and now it's North American lager.
Yeah.
That's part of the problem that craft breweries having in Canada, especially, is this the big breweries have such control over everything.
Well, the stakes too.
And they're buying up some of those.
Yeah, and Canada's always been about big monopolies.
Yeah.
Like when you get into the conspiracy of it all, right? The beer industry aside, you know. Like,
The government's allowing this, so there's going to be more and more popping up.
Oh, yeah.
And we do follow the states, and it takes time, it takes us longer. You know, they're moving ahead with it pretty well. So.
And the tax rate did get cut a few years ago, allowing this sort of enterprise to actually happen. But still,
They're perplexed by it. Coming in. This is
but
what they're doing?
yeah. But still, I mean, it's still my understanding from looking at the numbers that a brewery from the U.S. can come into Canada and sell their beer for a better margin than we can brew it and sell it here ourselves because of the tax structures. So those sorts of things still have to be worked out, and you know, hopefully, you see a state like New Hampshire recognizing what a nano is and you know, scale appropriate, making the cost scale appropriate. Hopefully, you know, we can coax the powers that be to get that going on here too. By the way, tree brewing.
and that's the big places.
Good day, guys. We're here with Rod and Jay, Brimstone Brewing Company in Ridgeway. Get to know you questions first. How did you get into the industry? And we'll start on this side.
How did I get into the industry? Well, I was working in the north. I lived in the Yukon for a few years, and I was working at a pretty remote location. So one of my trips into town, I found Sam Calagione's brewing up a business book, and I picked it up. And I didn't particularly. I'd always been, you know, I always enjoyed drinking beer, but I'd never actually brewed any. I bought this book, and it was just mind-blowing to me. You know, I loved his sense of humor, I loved his business ethic, and I loved what he was doing. So it got me hooked onto home brewing, and it just kind of took over my life from there.
This side.
This side, in terms of brewing, no experience in brewing. On the other side of the business, so I actually have the venue here. Obviously love beer. Always thought about starting a brewery. My plan was probably about 5 years out, then met Rod, and it accelerated really quickly. So what I bring to the table is venue and overall marketing of the space, and plugging the brewery in and then making it hopefully as successful as it can be. So.
Alrighty, thus far, favorite thing about the industry this side?
Favorite thing about the industry? For me, it's actually pretty interesting because I work a lot with the community. I moved here about 7 years ago and really engaged in it. So it's really cool because everyone loves beer. So I talked to so many friends, and so many people have come to me, and they're super excited about this. So I just I love that interaction with people and all around, you know, something that we love. Yeah.
The lack of assholery,
Asshole.
if you will. I mean, I've been on some brew courses where you've got, you know, a room full of people taking these, and you've got everything from guys who have never brewed in their lives right up to executives from Heineken, all in the same room, and everybody enjoys a beer right afterwards. And, you know, and there's no division at that point. Everyone's just an appreciator of beer to some degree. And I think that's awesome. And I even think, you know, I've even seen the collaboration that goes on between breweries. You know, I'm convinced that if I was in the dry cleaning business and I went down the road to the nearest dry cleaner and said, hey, can I have a cup of dry cleaning fluid? They'd tell me to, you know, go fly a kite. But if I ask a brewery down the road, hey, what's your IPA recipe? They'll like, here you go, you know, and here's a 6-pack to go with it. It's just so amazing that way. It's tight.
Now, doing a tour here and everything else, I have an idea where this is going to go. What's your least favorite part of the industry?
Just the big ass corporate stuff. Yeah, I mean, it stopped, the macros stopped being about beer a long time ago, way before my birth. And I just wanted to be about beer again.
For me, it's catch-22. You know, it's hearing a lot of people talk the type of beer they like and the type of beer we want to brew. You know, so it's that I love the idea about educating everyone about beer, but it's also the downfall. It takes so much time to educate everyone about beer. So that's probably like, so we're gonna come up with ways how we can, you know, expedite that process and, you know, get everyone on the bandwagon with craft brew.
Favorite style of beer?
I'd say I'm a pale ale. Yeah.
Quadruple IPA.
Least favorite style?
Least favorite style is probably, geez, that's a tough question. I'll drink Aquavelva if I have to. Probably just a rather watered down tasteless Pilsner, if you will.
Yeah, what drives me crazy is, you know, that low calorie, getting shape beer.
Sorry, I'm changing my answer. Yeah.
I can't stomach that. Yeah.
Malt Maniac or Hophead?
Absolutely hophead, no question about it.
Yeah, I'd say a hop beer.
Now, since the brewery's not up and running yet, this will only be a 2-part instead of 3-part question. So you have 2 beers to drink for the rest of your life, one from a big guy and one from a craft. Who's it going to be?
Stone is hands down the craft. And I'll take anything. I'll take their Stone IPA, I'll take any of their anniversaries. Sorry, what's the question again?
The last one would be the big guy.
Oh yeah. Which one is it going to be from a big guy?
Yeah. What beer would it be from a big guy if you had to drink only that?
Water.
So we're talking Coors Light, Bud Light?
No, water. No, okay, I'm gonna have to, I'm gonna have to say Alexander Keith's, because I'm a maritimer and, you know, a little bit of...
No Alpine right there, or Oland Export? Or?
Well, Oland's the same brewery. I mean, Alpine's the Moosehead guys, but no, Alex Keith's. I had many good times on him.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Say the question again, sir?
Okay, 2 beers for the rest of your life, one from a craft brewery, one from a big brewery.
Right.
We have very short attention spans.
Yeah, you know, I like Keith's. That's I went through their tour there and had a good feel from it.
I have green foam antlers, so I mean, how can I not dig that?
Yeah. And craft brewery. Small scale craft brewery. Well, Sierra's big now, right? That's
they're the Grand Papa.
Grand Papa. Yeah, I love my Sierra now. Sierra Nevada from living in California. But small scale brewery, yeah, there's just so many out there now that keep popping up. I just look forward to tasting one.
You can't even keep up with them anymore.
Yeah, that's it. And
so many of them are only sold at the brewery that a lot of people never get to try them.
Right, and I love those places though.
Yeah.
Wow. For you then, since there's no brewing experience on this side, what's the weirdest ingredient you've ever used to brew with?
My own picked spruce tips. So not weird, but just a little bit rare, let's say. So yeah, I picked my own spruce tips from the mountains in Prince Rupert and brewed my own beers with them.
Alrighty, this was getting to know the owners of Brimstone. Thank you guys.
Thank you.